And then I will put these videos on YouTube. But still, ask me a question. Anything that you want to know, ask me now, today. Do not say, oh, I didn't understand this. I'm going to go to YouTube, watch it. Maybe you watch it in YouTube and you still do not get it. So it's better that you be mindful, is that full-minded? The other way around. Here, today, now. Because life is like a parachute jump. You might not get it right the second. You might not get it right the second. What did I say last time? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Life is like a parachute jump. You better get it right the first time. You better get it right the first time. Okay, so let's go over this. Genome, what chapter 1 is, guys? Chapter 1 is full of it's just an overview of the whole entire textbook. It talks about whatever is in textbook, it's in chapter 1. Am I making some sense? So briefly, we are going over everything. We'll come back to genome and proteomics later on, but quickly, let's go over these a little bit, and then chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, then it starts specifically talking about things. So a large-scale analysis of DNA sequence, you all know what DNA is, nothing new. That's the blueprint of life. That's what DNA is, blueprint of life. You and I are, whatever we are, it's based on DNA. Okay, so an organism's genome is an entire set of genetic instructions. All of the DNA material inside of the nucleus of either plant cell, animal cell, fungi, the mushroom, the bacteria, all of that is the genome of that organism. So based on the genome of that organism, you have blue eyes, you have green leaf, you are having a mushroom cap, or you're a bacteria having those of you who had gram-positive, gram-negative. It's just based on the genome. The DNA determines what organism is. Okay, so a genomic is the study of sets of genes within and between the species. Based on your prefix suffix you have queries today, what is the suffix study of? Ology, right? Ology, O-L-O-L, like biology, study of life. Bio, it means life. Histology, study of tissue. Am I making some sense? Yes. So O-L-O-G-Y, it means study. And here we go, we have a word, it means study of, and it's not ending up in ology. Most of the time. Anatomy is another one. Anatomy is the study of structure. But it does not end up with O-L-O-G-Y. Am I making some sense, everybody? Are you all with me? Sarah, you're sitting in the back. Know your name. I won't know everybody's name in a minute. But anyhow. So genes are blueprint of proteins. Proteomics is the study of, another one without ology at the end, study of whole sets of proteins encoded by genome known as proteomes. Okay. And here is a couple of, I don't know, last night I tried to work this up. I did not have.
This simple animation illustrates the principle of negative feedback, or feedback inhibition, in the regulation of the chemical reaction sequence in a cell. The sequence involves 4 molecules, A, B, C, and D. 3 different enzymes catalyze the conversion of one molecule to the next. The final product, D, inhibits the first enzyme in the sequence. When the concentration of D rises to a certain point, the reaction shuts itself down.
Okay. You know, we'll talk about negative. If you guys take physiology or some of the classes, they will talk about negative feedback a lot. Okay. But in here, we might come back to negative. We will come back to negative feedback once or twice toward the end of semester. Maybe the exam material, exam number 3, will come back to negative feedback. So as long as you know. So bottom line, negative feedback is something goes back to your brain. For example, it goes back to your brain starts secreting stuff. Okay, and then other molecules go back to your brain, say, slow down, do not secrete that stuff anymore. That's negative feedback. Am I making some sense a little bit? So, and as soon as the concentration of the stuff that your brain release goes down, then this lets go, and the brain starts releasing that material again. Okay, when you take the endocrinology study of glands, you will learn more. But just in a lame language, I'm not going to give you too many terminology. Positive feedback is like an avalanche. You all know how avalanche is? Small ball start rolling and rolling, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Am I making some sense? One example of a positive feedback would be when you cut your finger, whole bunch of molecules come right at your fingertip and starts clogging the bleeding. Am I making some sense? That is an example of a positive feedback. Okay, so who? Let's watch it if you guys.
In positive
It's
feedback,
opposite of
a
negative
product of the
feedback.
reaction sequence enhances the action of one of the enzymes, increasing the rate of production of the product. Positive feedback is less common than negative feedback in living systems.
That's right. Okay, you see the amount of Z is becoming more and more and more. Okay, so that's positive feedback, just like formation and avalanche. Classifying the diversity of life, that is something you're going to do in the lab today. I will let you know during the lab dive. Approximately about 1.8 million species, and that's everything. Bacteria, fungi, plants, animals, you name it, protista have been discovered. About 2 million. And they're guessing that it is about 10 million or 100 more million species are going to be discovered and named scientifically. Okay, am I making some sense? And then, so for naming species, for example, on this one, for the bird, what happens, the domain eukarya, which I have not talked about it, I will in a minute. You have a domain that all fungi, plants, animals, they're all in that domain, protista. And then when you're talking about kingdom, a kingdom is smaller than a domain, and in a kingdom, it's just animal kingdom. Okay, you have starfish, sponges, butterfly, and all of the vertebrate animals. And within the kingdom Animalia, then you have phylum Chordata, which the starfish and sponge and butterfly are not there anymore. If you look at this diagram, this is in your textbook, by the way. You see, they're not in there, just the chordate animals, animals that have the notochord. Okay, and within the chordate animal, then you have mammalia, animals that have mammary glands. These guys, the birds, do not have mammary glands. Fishes do not have mammary glands. Turtles do not have. Frogs do not have. So it's not in here. Only animals that have mammary glands. Mammalia, class Mammalia, class. They call it class. Then carnivora is the animals that eat meat. As you can see, the dolphin is out. So the zebra is out. All of the vertebrate animals, the chordate animals that have mammary glands that are meat eaters are in that group. Order, they call it order. And then Urosidae is the family of all of the birds, the groups that are the birds. And within the birds, the name of the genus Ursus, and then of course American Nautilus is the name of the bird, the black bear, that is the name of the genus species for black bear. You don't have to worry about black bear for exam and quiz purposes, but you have to worry about human. Somebody might grab your collar in a mall and say what family human belongs to. You say, my family name is assadi-rad. Say no, then they punch you a little bit. You never know. You never know who you might run into in the mall, right? Right? I will not punch you, but I will ask you what is your family name. Here it is. So you are in kingdom, right? You are in kingdom Animalia. I did not show it. Is it? Yes. Kingdom Animalia. I showed it to you right here. Then there are 5 kingdoms. He mentioned it. That's the old one a little bit. But anyhow, That's the old one. Do not worry about that. But kingdom, we human belongs. If I ask you what kingdom we human belong to, we belong to kingdom Animalia, right? I just talked about that, right? Kingdom Animalia, domain Eukarya. We belong to domain Eukarya. Then phylum, the phylum Chordata, same as this one, phylum Chordata. Okay, and then do not worry about subphyla. I will not ask you that. But class, we human belong to class Mammalia, same as this one, Mammalia, class Mammalia. And then we belong. Do not worry about subclass. I will not ask you that. Order, we belong to order primate. Last one, order, you had carnivora, but this one is order primates. We are primates. We human are primates. And then family, Homundiae. Within the family of Homundiae, there are about 5 or 3. There are 3 genera. Plural of genus is genera, and plural of phylum is phyla. Phyla is a plural. Genera is plural. And then we are Homo. We are genus Homo, and then we are species Sapien, right here. The other 2 species within our genera are extinct. Okay, so that I expect you to know. That is not in your textbook. But it was in your PowerPoints on DocuShare that I gave you, what, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever I gave you, right? So this is in your DocuShare. This is something, a quiz question could appear on it on whenever we have class next time. I don't know what day of the week it is. You guys doing quiz or during the exam, you ask me, I mean, what is the date? So I have no clue what date is today. I don't know what day of the week it is today. And then you ask me for what date. So anyhow, this is what I expect you to. In analogy to this, we have Mother Earth. Is that right? I'm making an analogy. On Mother Earth, we have 7 continents. Okay, out of 7 continents, in each continent we have countries. Right? We have countries. In each countries, then we have cities or state. I should go state from country to state. From state, then we have cities. In the cities, then we have districts or streets, and in streets, then we have your block, and inside of your block, we have your house number, which would be this one. Homo sapiens is the name of genus species. That is, we just made a quick analogy. There are 3 domains, yes, you should know that for rest of semester. Organisms are divided into 3 domains named bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. We belong to domain, we human belongs to domain eukarya. Domain bacteria and domain archaea composed of prokaryotic cells. Can somebody tell me what are prokaryotes?
There's the small cells, no nucleus.
Very good. The smallest cells, no nucleus. You're supposed to study your notes from beginning to the end every night. Is that right? Is that how you get an A in this class? Amir, how do I get an A in this class? You study your notes every night from beginning to the end. That's the only way. Otherwise, I don't know if there, unless you have photographic memory. You have photographic memory, good for you. My salute to you. Just come during the exam time and you'll be fine. Or come during lecture and learn. Not during exam. Here they are, domain bacteria, domain archaea. Archaea, pretty much, it means they are the bacteria that they were living on the planet Earth long. Archaea, but on your prefix suffix, archaea means what?
Ancient.
Ancient, old, ancient, old. So these are the type of organisms that they are different than the rest of organisms on planet Earth, and they were here. They can live in hot springs on the bottom of the oceans, or hot springs of Yellowstone National Park. If you go in there, nothing else can live except these guys. Those springs are so hot. The temperature is so hot. And that's what the conditions of the earth were at the beginning of the time. The earth was so hot. And then over a period of time it cooled down so we could strive on it. But these organisms are still alive. And then of course bacteria, the domain bacteria are your bacteria that you have E. coli in your gut. Okay, you have bacteria on your skin, okay, and then so on and so forth. And then of course you have domain eukarya, which are plants, fungi, animal, and protista. They're all belong to this domain eukarya. Okay, in the lab we do not have an example of these guys, but we have examples of all of these, which is a lab you will do later on during semester. Not now. You have to look at them with a microscope and so on. Okay, Carlos Linnaeus. Again, this is not in your textbook, but that is something I'm hoping you would know. Okay, Carlos Linnaeus was the first person who saw all of these organisms that it was discovered by then. It was back in 1700 or 1800. He saw them, and it was chaotic. Nobody actually put an organization to it. He came, said, okay, listen, everybody, let's put a genus species system, two names, genus species system in the in all of the organisms. And then if anybody goes to Japan and you say Homo sapiens, they know who you're talking about. You're talking about human. Okay? So he came up, he said, okay, let's call it binomial nomenclature. It means two names, all of living organisms. If tomorrow you go get your PhD and you discover new organisms, you have to follow these rules. Okay, you can call it after yourself, but you have to give it a two-name binomial, genus, species. And then based on comparative anatomy, yes, that was, now DNA is being used as well. Then kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, that you have to follow that order. Your organism that you discovered must go to a kingdom, must go to a phylum, must go to a class, order, family, genus, species. You should know that order as well. The easy way to memorize that, I think, the way I said it before, and I'm being recorded and I'm going to YouTube, is King Paul came over for good sex. I hope you remember that. Mr. Bender, I know the faculty at Stockton campus we have, he says King Paul came over for good spice. I call it sex because you remember that for the rest of your life, I hope. So that's the order. Okay, so if you forget during exam what comes after kingdom, is Paul, King Paul. Not King Amir, King Paul. King Paul came over class, over, order, for, family, good, genus, and of course sex. That's the name of the genus species. How to write a scientific name? First word is genus, written with capital letter. And second word is species, all small initial letters. Both words are italic or underlined. During exam, you cannot italicize, you must underline during exam for me. Okay, for example, I'm giving an example. Homo sapiens, you underline it, the first letter is capitalized, capital H, and the species, sapien, scientific name for human, is small s. Homo sapiens. Or you can italicize it, and then gorilla, or you can italicize. That's a scientific name for gorilla, if you didn't know. Genus species for gorilla is called gorilla. It happens. We have a lot of organisms. Genus species, same, gorilla. Okay. Then some organisms, you have three names for them, and this is called a subspecies. The difference is very minute between those organisms, or their DNA is different. So they call it a subspecies, or some places, some people call it a strain. Okay, so Trypanosoma brucei rhodensiense, Trypanosoma brucei gambiense, Trypanosoma brucei. In a sentence, you might see this, Trypanosoma sp. When you see sp, it means he's talking about all three of them, or all four of them. I did not give you Trypanosoma cruzi. But anyhow, if there are 4, 5, 6 of Trypanosoma, then he's talking about all of them. I hope I'm making some sense. Gorilla can be written in a second time in a sentence, in a paper that you're publishing or you're doing whatever your exam, the first time you must write down gorilla, gorilla. Second time you can write it down as capital G dot gorilla. So second time you do not have to write down the first gorilla. I hope I'm making some sense. Or another example, Trichomonas vaginalis. It's a protista that infects female's vagina. It is T. vaginalis. Okay? Second time, if you have to write it down. During exam, you write me down T. vaginalis, I will not give you credit. Amir, you said it's true. Yes, but you must write it once. You must write it once completely. Then second time, you can write it down like this. I hope I'm making some sense. Or T. vaginalis, underline. Phylogeny is based on homology and not analogy. You know, all of the classification that they do, King Paul came over for kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus. It comes based on the similarities we have. Okay, if we have mammary glands, they put it in class Mammalia. If we have chordates, they put them in chordata. So the similarity, that's what that sentence means, homology. What is the similarity between us? A bat and a butterfly will not go into the same phylum because bats' wing are, they both can fly, right? They both, that's analogy. They both can fly, but they do not go to the same phylum. Okay? A bat wings are totally different than the wings of a butterfly. They cannot go into the same phylum. They both can fly, but they cannot go to the same phylum. The bats, the wings bats is not even similar to the bird's wings. So birds and bats do not go into the same phylum. I hope I'm making some sense. And Robert Whittaker, what he proposed, what did Robert Whittaker propose? He said, he proposed this in 1960s. Robert Whittaker said, okay, at the bottom we have prokaryotes. He said prokaryotes evolved to protista. This is both. This is both archaea and bacteria. All of prokaryotes evolved to protista, and some protista evolved to animals, and some protista evolved to fungi, and some protista evolved to plants. That's what Robert Whittaker proposed back in 1960s. Right? Am I making some sense? That's what Robert Whittaker proposed. So you know the relationship between those five. Here they are, species. This chapter, hopefully, I was hoping to emphasize more on similarities between organisms. For example, protista that is found in pond water, Paramecium. We dealt with it in high school or not. We do have a slide of it here in the lab. You can look at it. They have this little cilia. With that cilia, they can move. And in our respiratory tract, right here, you do have it too. Right here, you have cilia as well. All of that dust you inhale, the cilia push it up to your throat, and hopefully you clean your throat in the bathroom, not on the floors of Delta College. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Right? So we do have cilia, and these guys, the primitive organisms, they have cilia too. Some of them, not all of them. Okay. So, and then we'll talk about the structure of cilia later. So there is a lot of similarities between us and the rest of animals. All of the organisms, they all have DNA. Plants have DNA. You go out there, you look at a flower in your house, write down for yourself, or for kids, or your loved one, the similarities between you and that plant. There are lots of similarities. Okay, as semester goes on. Then Charles Darwin published the book, The Original Species, by means of natural selection in 1859. Darwin made two main points. Species showed evidence of descendant with modifications from a common ancestor. Common ancestor. But from here to here, there is a lot of, that's what Darwin talked about. Organisms evolve. Okay, so natural selection is the mechanism behind descent with modification. So when you evolve from here to here, some modifications occur, and that's pretty much called natural selection. Darwin theory explained this duality of unity and diversity. Here is his book, Origin of Species. Last semester, I will not tell you the story, but anyhow, one person gave me a copy of the book. I should read it. What did Darwin observe? Individuals in a population vary in their traits, many of which are heritable. More offsprings are produced than survive, and competition is inevitable. Species generally suit their environment. Yes. What did Darwin inferred? These are the following he inferred. I'm not going to read them to you guys because I'm not going to ask any question this early in the semester. If at the end of semester we have time, I will go over natural selection, evolution to some extent. But right now, just let's leave it to that. I should have. What natural selection means, if you just quickly, I'm going to spend a few seconds on it. You have in a population, you have these darker and lighter beetles. These are beetles, okay? And then a bird comes, and the bird can see only the light beetles. Am I making some sense? He cannot see the darker beetles. What will happen generation after generation of the beetles? What will happen? The number of the darker beetles increase because the natural selection, this is natural selection. Natural selection could be a disease, it could be a predator, it could be fire, it could be anything that eliminate some species. Okay? In this case, he's telling you that, like HIV, think of HIV. HIV, some people are dying off of it, and some people survive of it. Right? Magic Johnson is surviving of HIV. So that's natural selection. Some people survive, some people die. The people who survive, most likely, they transmit their genes to the next generation. So what is surviving here are the black ones, and at the end, you have a population full of black ones. Okay? There all could be some white ones too in that population, but sooner or later, they're going to become food, or maybe not sooner. And of course, there could be some gray ones. And I'm not going to talk about it. Say these two cross, there could be some gray ones as well. So there is a whole bunch of stuff. A semester, you might go to Davis or UOP and some big universities, and Berkeley, and they have the whole entire semester course called evolution. Okay, and then it would be good. I highly recommend that you take it because whatever you learn, biochemistry you learn, physics, chemistry, biology, botany, genetics, all of those courses you learn, evolution will put them together for you. They all start making sense. All of that physics, chemistry, everything you took, evolution puts it together for you. That's why I recommend that you should take a course like that. I'm not recommending that you should believe in it or not, that's personal opinion. But if you take a course in evolution, a good course in evolution, everything you learn, it'll come together. Don't believe in it. That's your personal opinion. Nobody can force you to what to believe and what not to believe. But you want to learn. That's the idea. Okay? Here, we will not talk about it much, but when you get to zoology, I will talk about it a little bit more. Okay, I think this is the last slide. No, for example, observation. Oh, okay, we have a few things. Observation in biology, scientists make observation. Your flashlight doesn't work. Okay, the question, why doesn't work? Hypothesis one, the batteries are dead. The bulb is out, right? Or maybe the connection, there is a third one. The connection is not, the switch. You all know what I'm talking about? The switch is not working. That would be the third hypothesis. Both of these hypotheses are testable. Okay, that's how scientists work. And then of course observation questions, you have hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, and at the end you go to the field and you find, and of course you come to the lab and you ask questions and so on and so forth. Read these for yourself and get familiar with them. I'm not going to go over them. Theories in science, in context science, a theory is a bigger picture of a hypothesis. So if you have a theory, for example, theory of evolution, it's one portion of it, there are hypothesis. It would biochemistry, genetics, fossils record, paleontology, what else? Then you have ecology, and then you have chemistry, a lot of different things. So all of those hypotheses together makes a theory of evolution. And inside of each hypothesis, you have some facts. Fossil records, you do have some fossils. That's a fact. It's not a hypothesis. The records of the fossils is a fact. Based on that fact of the fossil records, then you hypothesize they were alive 5 million years ago. Now they're extinct. There's none of them. I hope I'm making some sense. Okay, great. Let's go. What is this, guys? Sorry, it's a little bit chaotic, but what is this? Observation? What is this? Nobody knows what this is.
Paper.
Kimia, what is it, huh?
Paper.
A piece of paper. As simple as that. I'm not asking any gigantic question. Take that piece of paper, cut it in half, keep half for yourself, and never say Amir never gave me anything. I gave you half a piece of paper. Keep a half for yourself and give the other half to her, and then you do the same thing, cut it in half, nice and neatly, but quickly. We don't want to wait all day that you guys, and keep cutting and cutting and cutting until I get loaded here. Great. I'm ready. Are you guys ready? So you kept, you great. Thank you so much. You kept this half for yourself, so it's not going around. Thank you. I was worried about that. What are they doing? Anybody? People in the corner? Oh. Well, okay. Well, while they're doing that, let me go over the names. Who's here? Who's not here? Please keep cutting and pass it on. Come on. Oh my God! What did I do? Are you cutting it? Please. Let's go. Okay. Courtney. Alunan. No? Courtney is not here. Alunan is not here. Angels Maria.
Here.
Asun, Kion, Elisha, Ashley. No? Ashley is not here. Beidler, Alicia. Alicia, please be on time. You walked in front of YouTube. Let's do a pause. Thank you, Alicia, for reminding us that we should maybe pause YouTube.